Good evening, students. Welcome all of you in our Pol Science class. So, today we are going to start a new chapter from book 2, Political Theory. Okay, and it's chapter 5, name is Rights. Okay, so let's start. First topic we are having here, what are rights? Okay, so let's see the definition first. A right is essentially an entitlement or a justified claim. It denotes what we are entitled to as citizens, as individuals, and as human beings. It is something that we consider to be due to us, something that the rest of society must recognize as being a legitimate claim that must be upheld. Okay, so here it means, students, right is essentially an entitlement. Okay, that means we are entitled to. Okay, we are entitled to get these rights because these are justified claim, means we can claim that we want this. Okay, as a citizen, as individuals, and as human beings. Correct? Now, it being a legitimate claim. Okay, legitimate means legally. Okay, it's a legally claim. This does not mean that everything that I regard to be necessary and desirable is a right. That means, for example, I may want to wear the clothes of my choice to school rather than the prescribed uniform. And one more example, I may want to stay out late at night, but this does not mean that I have a right to dress in any way I like at school or to return home when I choose to do so. Okay, so here we are getting a difference. Children, there is a distinction between what I want and think I am entitled to and what can be designated as rights. So there is a distinction. We must remember this. Next, rights are primarily those claims that I along with others regard to be necessary for leading a life of respect and dignity. So we are getting your rights, we are claiming those rights which provides us respect and dignity in our life. In fact, one of the grounds on which rights have been claimed is that they represent conditions that we collectively see as a source of self-respect and dignity. Like, for example, the right to livelihood may be considered necessary for leading a life of dignity. Being gainfully employed gives a person economic independence, right? If we are doing a job, we are gaining, means we are having economic independence. So, for example, the right to livelihood may be considered necessary, right, for living a life of dignity and respect. As we are doing a job, we are gaining economic independence, means we are financially independent. And we are gaining what? We are gaining also self-respect and dignity in our society. And for example, like we have the right to express ourselves freely. Okay, like it gives us the opportunity to be creative and original, whether it is in writing or dance or music or any other creative activity. But the freedom of expression is also very important for democratic government, since it allows for the free expression of beliefs and opinions. So rights such as right to livelihood or freedom of expression would be important for all the human beings who live in society, and they are described as universal in nature. So we are having so many rights, like right to education is there, For example, it helps us to develop our capacity to reason, it gives us useful skill and enables us to make informed choices in life. Now the next topic is, where do rights come from? Okay, from where we are getting the rights. Okay, so here you can see in the 17th and 18th centuries, political theorists, they argued that rights are given to us by nature or God. Okay, so we are getting the rights by nature or by God. This is the belief of political theorists of 17th and 18th centuries. The rights of men were derived from natural law. Okay, so this meant that the rights were not conferred by a ruler or a society, and these rights are inalienable, means inseparable, and no one can take these rights away from us. Nobody could snatch away these rights. Okay, and they identified three natural rights of man. Okay, these political theorists of 17th and 18th centuries, they identified three natural rights. What are those? Let's see. First is, okay, three natural rights. First is the right to life, liberty and property. Okay, these are the three natural rights according to them, and all other rights were said to be derived from these basic rights only. Okay, and the idea that we are born with certain rights is a very powerful notion, because it implies that no state or organization should take away what has been given by the law of nature. Okay, but this conception of natural rights has been used widely to oppose the exercise of arbitrary powers. Okay, that means absolute power in one hand. To stop this type of conception of natural rights has been used. Okay, and to safeguard individual freedom, means people's liberty. So in recent years, the term human rights is being used more than the term natural rights. Nowadays, we don't use this term as natural rights, we use human rights. So this is because the idea of there being a natural law or a set of norms that are laid down for us by nature or God appears unacceptable today. So rights are increasingly seen as guarantees that human beings themselves seek or arrive at in order to lead a minimally good life. So the assumption we have understood that behind this human rights is that all the persons are entitled to certain things simply because they are human beings, and all persons are equal. No one is born to serve others. Okay, so we all are getting the rights in the society to live a life of dignity and respect. Like for example, we have today the UN Declaration of Human Rights built upon this understanding of rights. Okay, we have UN Declaration of Human Rights. Now the list of human rights which people have claimed has expanded over the years as societies face new threats and challenges. For example, what kind of threat and challenges? Let's see. For example, today we are very conscious today of the need to protect the natural environment, right? To protect the environment. And this has generated demands for rights to clean air, water, sustainable development and the like. So a new awareness about the changes which many people, especially the women, children or the sick, face in times of war or natural crisis. It has also led to demands for a right to livelihood, rights of children and the like. So such claims express a sense of moral outrage about infringements of people's dignity, and they also act as a rallying and call to people to try and extend rights to all human beings. Okay, so this is what nowadays we want, to protect the natural environment, right? like clean air, water, safe water, sustainable development, all these things we want. So nowadays people are quite aware of all these facts. Next, our topic is legal rights and the state. Now let's see what is meant by legal rights and the state. While claims for human rights appeal to our moral self, the degree of success of such appeals depends on a number of factors. Okay, so we are claiming this human rights right, but it actually the degree of success of such appeal, it depends on a number of factors. Like most important of which is the support of the government and the law. Okay, the support is required of the government and the law. This is why so much importance is being placed on the legal recognition of rights. Until and unless it was approved by law, okay, rights were approved by law. So until and unless the rights are approved by law, it has no such importance, okay, or valuable, okay. So there must be legal recognition of rights, legal approval of rights. So like for example, Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights is enshrined in the constitution of many countries. Okay, so constitution here represents the highest law of the land. Okay, we consider constitution as the highest law of the land, and so constitutional recognition of certain rights give them a primary importance. In our country we call them what? In our country we call them fundamental rights. So other law and policies are supposed to be respect the rights which is granted in the constitution, and the rights mentioned in the constitution would be those which are considered to be of basic importance. Now in some cases these may be supplemented by claims which gain importance. Okay, now important is the legal and constitutional recognition of our claims that several theorists define right as claim that are recognized by the state. Okay, so the legal endorsement certainly gives our rights a special status in society, okay, as it is legally approved. So it is gaining a special status in society, but it is not the basis on which rights are claimed. As we discussed earlier, that rights have steadily been expanded, right? Now, however, in most cases, the claim rights are directed towards the state. That is, through these rights, people make demands upon the state. And like for example, when I assert my right to education, okay, when I claim my right to education, I call upon the state to make provisions for my basic education. That means when I claimed, okay, that I want education, okay, basic education, right to education, then it is the duty of the state to make the provisions, okay, for my basic education. Like society may also accept the importance of education and contribute to its on its own. So different groups may open schools and fund scholarship so that children of all the classes can get the benefit of education, right? That is right to education. But the primarily responsibility rests upon the state, okay? The state will definitely, it will make provisions for the basic education. So it is the state that must initiate necessary steps to ensure that my right to education is being fulfilled, okay? It is the duty of the state. Now, thus rights place an obligation upon the state, okay, to act in certain kinds of ways, correct? So there are so many examples like right to liberty and then right to life, okay, all these are some examples. Now right to liberty as a person, for example, it suggests that the state cannot simply arrest a person, okay. It is wishes to put a person behind the bars or a jail or a prison, it must defend that action, okay, and there must be explanation, or the police must produce an arrest warrant before taking away that person, okay, before arresting a person. This is we are getting from right to liberty, okay. Next topic, we are having kinds of rights. Okay, let's see what is your. So you can see that most democracies today begin by drawing up a charter, okay, just like a list of political rights. So many rights we are having. Political rights give the citizens the right to equality before the law and the right to participate in the political process. Okay, what is that, children? Political right means right to vote, okay, that is universal adult suffrage. Now, they include such rights as the right to vote and elect representative, means to choose the leader, the right to contest elections, the right to form political parties or join them. Okay, so political parties are supplemented by civil liberties. Okay, and collectively, civil liberties and political rights form the basis of a democratic system of government. Okay. But as it was mentioned before, that rights aim to protect the well-being of the individual. So political rights contribute to it by making the government accountable to the people, by giving greater importance to the concern of the individual, okay, over the rulers. So however, our rights of political participation can only be exercised when our basic needs of food, shelter and clothing are met, right? A person needs this basic thing first of all. After that, voting comes. So for such a person living on the pavements and struggling to meet this basic needs, political rights by themselves have very little valuation, right? A person needs all these basic facilities or needs like food, shelter, clothing, health, etc., which are a requirement. So they require certain facilities like an adequate wage, means minimum wages to meet their basic needs, right? And reasonable conditions of work also. That is, livelihood is also required. Work is also required. So today, in addition to this, okay, one more example is given over here. Economic rights, okay? In India, the government has recently introduced a rural employment guarantee scheme, okay, to help the poor people. So this comes under the economic rights, okay. So in addition to this political and economic rights, more and more democracies are recognizing the cultural claim of the citizen, okay, like for example, the right to have primary education in one's mother tongue, okay, that is on the linguistic basis, the right to establish institution and for teaching one's language and culture. Today these become very necessary for leading a good life, okay. Next we have rights and responsibilities, okay, coming to this part. Now, rights not only place obligation upon the state to act in certain way, okay, for example, to ensure sustainable development, okay, to ensure sustainable development, but they also place some obligations upon each of us, okay. Firstly, for example, they compel us to think not just for our own personal need and interest, but also to defend something, but also to defend, okay, but also to defend something as being good for all of us. Next, protecting the ozone layer, okay, that means minimizing air pollution, water pollution and maintaining the green cover by planting new trees and preventing cutting down of forest, okay. So in this way we are protecting our environment. This is our responsibility. Not only we are having the rights, we are getting the rights which we are claiming, but we are also having some responsibilities towards the society, towards the government, okay. Next, they require that I respect the right of others. Okay, for example, if I am getting the rights, I must give respect to the rights of others also. Okay, like example, if I do not want others to interfere in the choices I make, the dress I wear or the music I listen to, I must refrain from interfering in the choices that others make. I must leave them free to choose their music and clothes. I cannot use the right to free speech to incite a crowd. Okay, so in this way, I should respect the rights of others also. Next, thirdly, we must also balance our rights when they come into conflict. For example, my right to freedom of expression allows me to take pictures, okay, like selfie and all. However, if I take pictures of a person like who is bathing in his house without his consent, without his permission, okay, if I am taking his picture and post them on the internet and social media, it would become a violation of his right to privacy. It should not be done, which is wrong. Okay, so this is our responsibility. Fourthly, one more thing is that citizens must be vigilant, okay, must be aware about the limitations which may be placed on their rights. Okay, like for example, a currently debated topic concerns the increased restrictions. Okay, now the government is imposing some restrictions on the civil liberties of citizens only on the grounds of national security. When it comes on the grounds of national security, when it comes, as a threat to our own nation, to our own country, okay, we must have to protect our country, our nation first, to protect all the people, right? Protection and nation security comes first. So government is giving first priority to nation's security. Okay, so on this basis, the government can put some restrictions, or it can impose some restrictions, we can say, or it can curtail some liberties. Okay, civil liberties means liberties of the citizens on the grounds of national security. Like protecting national security may be defended as necessary for safeguarding the rights and well-being of citizens. But some questions has been arisen over here, that should it be allowed to arrest the people on mere suspicion? Should it be allowed to intercept their mail or tap their phones? Should it allowed to use torture to extract the confession? Or should a country facing the threat of terrorist bombing should be allowed to curtail the liberty of citizens? So in such situations, the question to ask is whether the person concerned poses an imminent threat to the society or not, right? Even the arrested person should be allowed legal counsel. As we know, rights of accused is already there. A person is getting this liberty or the freedom to defend himself or herself before a court, right? He or she can hire a lawyer, and also he can defend himself or herself, right? He can prove, he can save himself by hiring a lawyer, okay, so that until and unless his or her crime is being proved, he or she is not considered as criminal. Okay, this is the thing, you should remember this, children. And so here the question asks whether the person concerned, he poses a threat to society or not. Okay, so this is the thing. Now, even though rights can never be absolute, we need to be very vigilant or aware in protecting our rights and those of others, for they form the basis of a democratic society. Okay, I hope up till here it's clear to all of you. And children, this is a short chapter. Okay, so here our chapter has been completed, so you must be very happy for that. And thank you for watching the video. Please watch all the videos, okay, for a clear concept. So thank you, children. Be updated, study well, and God bless you.